Hello everyone, and welcome to an official Doom Builder 2 tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about effects and actions. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up a 640 by 640 sector here. And the first effect I'm going to show you is actually a damaging sector effect. So these are basically the effects that when a player stands in it, he actually takes damage. These are used in lava pits and nukish pits and stuff like that. So I'm going to draw a sector here, and this is going to be our pit. So I'll make it 320 by 192. And now I'm going to go into sector mode and modify this sector. And I'm going to change its effect by clicking on that button and selecting damage -2 or 5% health, and then I'll push OK. And now I'm going to lower the floor just a little bit, so I'll lower it by 16 units, so that'll be -16. And now I'm going to change the floor to more of a liquid texture, and I'm actually going to use the Nukage 1 for this, so I'll push OK, and I'll push OK again. So now we have that set up. I'm actually going to come in here and select these 4 lines on the side because I got to set a texture for those since I lowered this middle sector. So I'll just use the texture that's already there. So I'll come up here to base and go to Startan 2 and select that, and I'll push OK. So with that selected, I'm going to go ahead and now insert a player start. So I'll go to Things mode and insert a player 1 start, and I'll push OK. And now I'll go ahead and test this out. Okay, so here we are on the level. And you can see I have my pit here, and if I step into it, you'll notice that I start taking damage. So that's pretty much how we set up a sector effect. So I'll jump back into the editor. So if I ever wanted to modify this sector effect, I could just come back into sector mode and select this sector and change its effect using the effect button here to anything that I wanted, whether it be lights, blinking, or damage, or any kind of effect like that. All I got to do is simply change this and push OK, and it'll fix it for me. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to actions. So to do that, I'm going to start off by drawing another sector here, and this one's going to be 640 by 640. Okay, and now we're actually going to take a look at a door. So to do this, I'm actually going to draw a middle sector here, and I'm just going to make it 64 by 128. And now I'm actually going to modify its sector properties, and I'm going to have to drop the ceiling height down because it's a door, and I'm going to have to actually raise it up to get through it. So I'll set the ceiling height to 0. And I'm actually going to change the ceiling texture to flat 20. And this is basically going to be the ceiling of our door. So with that, I'll go ahead and push OK. And now we're going to jump into lines mode. And I'm going to select these 2 lines. And I'll right click. And I'm going to come in here and push the action button under the actions part here. And now this is a completely different set of menu here. And I'm going to go under door for this one. And now we can talk about these actions a little bit here. So I got this set up as a visual aid, so you can pause the video now if you need to, and you can use this as an aid for setting up your actions until you get used to it. But basically you'll notice that there's either 2 letters or a letter and a number in front of all these actions. And that's basically what this chart means. Now the first one we'll look at is D, and that means direct, which basically means that the player can interact directly with that geometry and it will affect a sector that is connected to it. And you'll see this a lot of times with doors. The next one we'll look at is switch, which starts with an S. And that basically means that if you use this line, it will affect whatever sector you have tagged. The next one we have is walk, and it will have a W. And that basically means when you walk over this line, it will trigger the effect to whatever selected sectors that you have. The last one is gunfire, and this is basically signified with a G. And that means the line is shootable, and it will affect any sectors you have selected basically by gunfire. Now you'll notice that they either have a R or a 1 after these letters here. And that basically means, does it trigger once or can it trigger an infinite amount of times? So that's pretty much this whole setup here. Okay, so with that knowledge, we know we have to actually select a DR, which is basically a direct action, and it's going to be for a door. So we'll go select this, which is DR, door open, wait, close, also monster. So we'll click that and push OK. And now we're going to go into the side depths real quick and change this upper texture to a door texture. So we'll select big door 2 and push OK. And push OK again. So now we have that action and that texture set up, and we're almost done with our door here, but we need to select the sides of the door. And the reason for that is right now if we open this door, these sides are actually going to move. The texture is actually going to move with the door. So we'll select that, and we're going to select the lower unpegged option, which means the texture will no longer move. And we'll go to side depths and change that middle texture to more of a door track for the door. And they actually got a texture called a door track. And we'll push OK with that selected. And with that, we'll go ahead and push OK again. So now we have that door track in place, so it's going to look like it's actually sliding along that. And with that, we can go ahead and test our map. Okay, so here we are in game, and we can come over here to our door, and if we push use, you'll notice our door opens. So that's one side that's working, and if we come over here and test this side, you notice it also works. Now this is a little bit bigger than a normal door, but all you'd have to do is actually shrink it, which wouldn't take much effort. So with that, we'll go ahead and head back into the editor. Okay, so now we got our door set up, and the next thing I'm going to go ahead and set up is a lift right next to our door. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a 64 by 64 sector here. And now I'm going to go into sectors mode, and I'm going to select this sector, and I'm going to move the floor height up to 128 because we're no longer dealing with the ceiling moving up, but the floor moving down because we're building a lift. So I'll set that to 128. I'll come over here to floor, and I'll change that to flat 20, and I'll push OK. And I'll push OK again. So we got that all set up there. Now we're going to set up the actual action for it. So we'll go to lines depths mode, and we'll select these two sides here and set up the action using the action button. And now we're looking for a lift, but notice there's no direct use, which means we're going to have to use a switch. Now we want it to be repeatable, so we'll go ahead and select switch repeatable, lift, lower, weight, raise, fast. So this is a fast lift. We'll push OK. And now we need a sector tag because we're using a switch. We need to define a tag to use it with. So we'll click the new tag button, and that'll give us the new tag that we haven't used yet. And while we're at it, we might as well go into side depths and set an actual lift texture to use. And so we'll click lower, and then we will use support 2. So we'll move down here and select support 2 and push OK. And we'll push OK again. So now we have this set up for tag 1, so we'll clear that out. And we're going to select the sector again because we tagged it as 1. So we need to set the sector tag as 1. But since I just set the lines as 1, I can just hit the new tag button and minus it by 1. And this is very useful if you just set a line and you don't remember exactly what tag it was. You can just hit the new tag and then minus it by 1, and that's going to be the last tag that you were dealing with. So now that I have that set up, I'll just push OK, and we can test our map. Okay, so here we are in game. And you can see the new lift I put in. So if I come over here and use it, you'll see that it moves very quickly. And it works on that side, so I'll test this side now. Alright, and you see that the lift works just as I had planned. So with that, we'll head back into the editor now. Okay, so now that I'm back in the editor, I'm going to go ahead and push the home key. And that will actually center my view here, so it'll make it a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so now that lift is done, and the next thing I'm going to concentrate on is actually making a teleport, because a teleport is a little bit different than doing a lift. So I'm going to start off by making a sector here, and it's going to be 64 by 64. And I'm going to create another one in this sector over here. And notice how I am lining it up to the grid. And this is so the texture that I put on this is actually going to match up properly on the floor. So with those two drawn, I'm actually going to select both of them. And I'm going to right click. And I'm going to change the floor texture. And I'm going to go to the Hell texture set and set it to Gate 1. And I'll push OK. And I'm going to raise the floor height of both these sectors by 16. And I'll push OK. So those changes are in place. And while I'm at it, I might as well go into Line Defs mode and right click. And I will change these missing textures to Star Tan, just like we did previously. And I'll push OK. And I'll push OK again. So those are set up. Now, up until this point, you'll notice that these sectors in the middle have lines that are actually facing outwards. And you can tell that by the line pointing outwards in the middle of these actual lines that we're going to use. But if you look at the teleports, they're actually facing inwards. So the first thing we need to do for a player to access this is actually flip it outwards. And we'll do that by using the F key, and that's going to flip our lines. And doing that allows players to access these lines. Now, if we were doing a switch, we would have to do the same exact thing as we did just now. So I'll go ahead and right-click these, and I'm going to set up the action now. So I'll click the button, and I'll come down to teleport. And I want this to be repeatable, and I want us to be able to walk to teleport, so I'm going to go to WR teleport. And I'll push OK. Now, I do need to set an identification tag, but I want to do this separate, so I'm going to push OK for now. And then I'm going to clear my selection here. And I'm going to start by doing one at a time. So I'm going to select this left one, right-click it, and I'm going to set an identification tag. And it comes to 2 because remember that we had 1 for our lift. So to not conflict with that, we need to have the next tag available. So we'll use 2, and we'll push OK. And I'm going to clear out that selection. And now I'm going to jump into sectors mode. And jumping into sectors mode, I'm going to select this sector here. And I'm going to use new tag. And then I'm going to minus it by 1 because I want it to be linked up to this sector we just previously set. So I'll put that to 2, and I'll push OK. So those are almost set up, but with a teleport you need something called a teleport destination thing. So we'll go into things mode, and I'm going to place a thing here, and this is actually going to be called a teleport destination. So I'm going to have it face towards the door, and I'll push OK. So that is pretty much set up for a teleport, but now we want to set it up where it goes the opposite way as well. So I'll go back into lines mode, and I'll select these lines, and I'll go to the properties, and I'm going to change and hit new identification tag, which goes to 3, which is fine because our other teleport used 2, and I'll push OK. And now I'm going to push C to clear my selection, and now I'm going to go back into sectors mode and select this sector, and we did have it set to 3, so I'll hit new tag and minus it by 1 to go to the last lines that we were dealing with, and I'll push OK. And I will also add a teleport destination to this sector as well. So I'll go to things mode, hit insert, and face it towards the door as well. And I'll go ahead and drag that over real quick. So now they're both facing towards the door, and they're both linked up. And we can tell this if we go into lines depth mode, and we actually hover our mouse over the lines. You'll notice that the sectors on the opposite sides actually light up. Well, this means that these sectors and lines are actually linked. So with that, we'll actually go in and test this out. Okay, so here we are in game. And if I turn around, you see the teleport that we set previously. And if I walk through it, you notice I teleport. And I'm facing the door that I can actually walk through. Or I can use the teleport again. And you notice I'm still facing the same door. So that teleport's set up exactly the way that we wanted to set it up. So with that, I'll head back into the editor. So with that pretty much covers what we were looking for in this lesson, which is basically how to create sector effects and also use actions such as doors, lifts, and teleports. Be sure to tune in for the next lesson, which will cover the copying and pasting that reside in Doom Builder. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next lesson.